Which row?
Huh?
That row or that row?
This row here,
Okay.
down at the
All right.
far end.
Thank
The
you.
taller of the two down there, he is was a Civil War veteran. We have 20. I have found 20 Civil War veterans out of 23. The Press Democrat said there were 23 way back when, and I've been haunting and no, that's the wrong word. I've been searching, trying to find all the other ones. Okay, moving further down here. Yesterday, I came up and I laid out this white and yellow chain here. That is a full family plot, 10 feet by 30 feet. It's the Pippin family. Who's buried where, I don't know. When I look on the family, on the map of the cemetery for this quarter section, it just lists Pippin, 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 Pippin. No initials, no name, no anything. And I think the reason we have no markers here or fencing is it was done in wood. You'll see some other grave markers that are done in wood. They've rotted, they've fallen by the wayside. But that is a family. A whole family's buried there. But who's where, you know, who's being chummy with who, I have no idea. Okay. Another one of our DAR, our Union soldiers here. Okay, you got your programs, right? Okay, for the southwest quarter, we have one right here. Who's on our southwest? I didn't bring it. Oh, there's, God damn it. The one thing, if you come up, I'm going to be going further down this way. So I know you want to stay in the shade. This is Mervyn Snow. Yeah, Mervyn Snow. If you look in your program, you will see the information regarding Mervyn. Most of the time, nearly 99% of the time, if a child, say 10 years old or younger, they will have a lamb, either carved into the stone or a lamb on top of it, because they are innocent as lambs. They haven't gotten matured, you know, or even got into being a teenager. So you will find in the cemeteries, wherever you go, if you come across an infant, you will find, usually, 99% of the time, you will find a lamb on the headstone. Let's see, right behind you. Yes, sir.
Are you open to questions?
Sure.
The Pippin family, what's the history and a little bit of history when they were...
They were pioneers in the 1860s.
Wow.
There's a book called Guerneville Early Days that in the very back there's a population list, a name list. If you look in there, there's the ages and when they arrived here and who the wife was and the children all listed of that sort.
So their headstones were wood initially, and they
could have been. I have no idea, because ever since I've been coming up here, there's never been any kind of a marker whatsoever.
And how many were there buried in that?
Oh, there's about 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did these people get here during those years?
How'd they get here during the years?
Yeah, by water or across
Oh,
the land?
by water. Initially, it was by water and by wagon, and then in 1877 when they got the train in.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, right here where I am standing on this grave right here, this marker here for a Wallace Pels, it's called a cenotaph. Not an epitaph, but a cenotaph, which means it's a marker or a memorial to a person who is not buried there. It's just a remembrance of the person. Wallace Pels, well, I got a little piece here. He died May 7th, 1942. He was in the camp in the Philippines. He died in 1942 in the Philippines. What was going on? World War II. Well, who was in the Philippines? The Japanese. He was one of the victims of the Bataan Death March. His gravesite is over in the Philippines. There, we've come across a photo of it. He lasted about 6 weeks after they reached Camp O'Donnell, which was the end. That was 80 miles in, I forgot how many days it was. Let's see. 9 days. Yeah, they had, let's see, they've been in quarter rations for a month. Before that, the camp was too small for all of them. Many had to sleep under buildings. And with all the typical diseases and what have you, you can imagine that's why so many of them passed away. But he was one of the first victims of the Bataan Death March after they reached camp, Wallace Pell's. Over here, under this big redwood by itself, everybody frying to death? Uh-huh. You stand up here on the hill, you're closer to heaven. If you're down below, you're going to burn. Anyway, we have a couple of stones here. These are 2 more Union soldiers that are buried here out of the 20. The one over on the far side over here in this corner by the redwood is Albert Bierce. How many here have heard the name Ambrose Bierce?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, we got a couple of hands up there. Oh, we got some literati here. Ambrose Bierce is the one who wrote Incident at Owl Creek, the Devil's Dictionary. He was a news correspondent during the Civil War. And this fellow here, Albert Bierce, was his brother, who was a lieutenant in the Civil War. Ambrose Bierce, being a news correspondent, was sent down into Mexico in 1914. What was going on then?
The revolution.
The revolution, right. And so he was hanging around with Pancho Villa. Well, 1914 was the last time they ever heard of him. Ambrose disappeared. And those who, you got some of these detective types that have been trying to find his gravesite. They have never found it. He just disappeared. But Albert is the only one that's buried here. The other part of here is he's waiting for Ambrose to show up to be buried along here. And Albert Bierce lived down here in Gernwood and never married, and so he's just here, and we're still waiting for Ambrose. Okay.
Did these?
Who else we got
I have a
here?
question. Did these people
question?
that fought for the Union, did they come after the Civil War? Or did they actually go from California to fight in the Civil War?
No, they came. It was this was post-war here.
So you said-
wasn't even first settled until 1865.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. So they actually fought first and then moved out here.
Yeah,
after.
then they
Okay.
came out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, the 9 acres and the gifts were related. You'll find this quite often. We have one great family lot where you have 3 names. We got the Benellis, the Pedroias, the Danucci's, etc. But they were all related.
Oh.
All the Italians up here are related.
That's my head bleed.
Is there like a general layout to the cemetery so that like people of all one religion are in one area,
No.
or military in one area, or
No, we have the Catholics mixed with the Jews, mixed with the Muslims, mixed with the Native Americans, everybody. It's we're homogenized up here. Okay, let's see. We've done them. Okay, we're going over the next quarter here.
Oh, yeah. Let's get your
Yes, quite the character. I've only been able to find 3 women who were veterans of World War II. I have found one who was a veteran of World War I. But see, this is kind of unusual. You find both of them were at the same time. Okay, over here. right here. Okay, where are the sisters from Rio Negro?
Wait, you gotta wait till we get close enough to here, John.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
You're competing with the foliage.
Ah, there they are. Okay, you were asking about Harold Smith
Right.
and William Smith, who built the Tudor type construction at Rio Negro, who developed Memories That Linger, Rio Negro. Right over here. You see where the yellow flag is that I put up there, the marker?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. That's the Smith plot there. The one fellow who has the brass plaque nearest that flag, he was an aviator, started out first in Canada. He volunteered to Canada, then went to England in World War I, and he was considered a pioneer aviator. He was flying seaplanes at the Red Sea, chasing German ships. You can imagine a bi-winger seaplane in 1914, 1915, what kind of flying he was doing. But anyway, he was decorated by England, and it says on there, aviation pioneer. Okay.
You know, in regards to Harold Smith, he built Rio Negro in the Tudor form because he was from England.
Yeah,
and
he's
he
from
wanted-
England, right.
And he wanted to build it in the model
Exactly.
of his
And so,
hometown.
lady, those who can't hear, Harold Smith came from England. And so consequently, because of the culture he came from, he built the Rio Negro with the main lodge or hotel, but also the other buildings that were around where, what's the devil's
The variety store, the dance hall.
the dance hall, yeah, the
Shooting
variety
gallery,
store,
arcade.
the grocery store, were all done in Tudor style. It was because of his cultural background. Okay, up here, we're in the southwest, northwest. Harold Smith, I took care of. Connie Chitwood. She's another youngster here, and I have a little flag by her grave site. I haven't gotten all the infants memorized as yet. Over here, you see these two grave markers. One is flat. The lighter of the two is Silas Ingram's grave site. He was the mayor, the founder of Cazadero, and that is his location right there. Basically, this part of the cemetery pretty much has people from the Cazadero area, or why it hasn't been really figured or wasn't really planned that way, but a lot of them are from Cazadero over in this northwest quarter. Okay, let's see. We got another child here. And okay. One of the children has been buried, have no information whatsoever. You look in your program, there's one right here, buried about 20 years ago. We have no knowledge about where she came from, the family, but it seems like about once a year somebody comes up and they put a little trinket, a little remembrance on her grave site. The one I'm standing on right now is a veteran of the Civil War, except he is a Confederate. He's the only Confederate that we have here. And he was the only one that was even recognized in contemporary newspaper articles, etc. Mr. Bolton right here. He's the only one.
I have a question. Are these just for putting flowers in, or do
Yes,
they actually?
these are for flowers. And sometimes they plant trees. Some of these places where they planted trees, they got so darn big, they moved the graves and trees stay there. Okay, let's go up. Bolton. Okay, Dave Hetzel, we got baby Hetzel.
I was in a graveyard up in Washington, and apparently they had to chop down a tree because the gravestone was right in the center of the headstone. So they had to cut away, from the headstone.
Over here we have baby Hetzel. Baby Hetzel is sometimes considered the youngest Bohemian. The Bohemian Club. Father Carl was the grove keeper at the Bohemian Grove down by Monterey. He was born down there, and the Bohemians just kind of made him a mascot, took him in, and he was how many years? He was born 95. He lived to be about 4 or 5 years old when he died. From what I don't know, and I should know because I was very good friends with his brother, Jack Hetzel. He's buried over the side here with the windmill over here in the far corner. Yeah. Jack Hetzel, huh? No, that's Hetzel. This is with the T, Hetzel. And where some of you are staying right now, this is the Corbell family plot. There used to be a lot of wooden grave markers and a beautiful redwood fence all the way around it. And somebody obviously came through and cleared everything else. We only have two designations of the Corbell family themselves, are right in here. And looking at the family lot on the map, again, it's like Corbell, 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 Corbell. Nobody's distinguished individually. This headstone here is a Hetzel. David Hetzel. I got all sorts of stories about him, except one that I want to relate to you. Back in the old days, they still do it now. If you want to become a citizen of the United States, you can join the military, and upon discharge, you become a citizen. Well, that's what David Hetzel did. He was from Baden-Baden, Germany. He was born in 1840, came over here, and the Civil War started. He swore allegiance to the United States and is a veteran of the Civil War. He lived 95 years here, died here. During his military career, he was assigned as like a presidential honor guard at Gettysburg. And he happened to be standing, and his son, Jack, related this to me. And so you're catching it third hand, but boiling down to the truth of the matter comes from Jack via his dad. He was standing in front of the platform down below, and Lincoln was giving his address. Now, where he was standing along the front of that platform, Jack couldn't tell me, but he was standing in the front. And we've all heard and recited the Gettysburg Address. You get down, 7 years ago, and then you get down to the bottom, and you say, for the government, for the people, by the people, and of the people. Jack said, that's wrong. And it kind of fits when you think about it. The way Lincoln said it, according to what David told Jack to me, that Lincoln said, it's of the people, by the people, of the people. Not, see it now, I made a slip. I went to the participle. I didn't accent people. But the way we've all studied about Lincoln, that makes sense, that he would accent and stress. It's the people themselves. So that to me lends credence to this family story that we have here today. Okay, moving right along, forward. Are there any questions? I'll try to answer them for you. Jeremy. Nichols. Well, typical undertaker, he just carry that.
John? Wasn't David Hetzel the winner of the Gold Prize for tobacco grown in Guerneville?
Yeah.
That's a,
Dave Hetzel, after the war, he came out here and he started developing tobacco. He said, whoa, that's kind of weird out here versus back east. But he developed such a good product that some friend of his, when they had the St. Louis World's Fair, grabbed a handful of, David, let me put this on just for display, just to show we grow. So he did, and about a month later, David gets a letter from the St. Louis World's Fair Commission, whatever he says, we saw your display, and it's great, and we've given you a certificate of an award, like he won like a silver medal or something. He didn't even know anything about it. Tobacco being in competition with Kentucky and the rest of the tobacco growing states. Well, then after that, he got to thinking, he said, oh, okay, so they had the Lewis and Clark exposition up in Portland. So he shipped it up there. He got a gold medal for his tobacco up there in all competitions. Hey, this is pretty good. He's getting some free advertising out of this. And so then he deliberately set it all up, picked selected leaves, and he entered it into competition at the California State Fair, and he won the Grand Sweepstakes. He was the best of anything that was grown in California. But he had plots all over the river. He was growing tobacco. In this kind of weather, you know, it doesn't make sense, but he knew what he was doing. And he retired from the business when he was 90. And he was still puffing his cigars. Go figure, huh? Okay. Let's see.
No, she stopped when she was in her 60s. She wanted to talk one more time.
Okay. Why don't you step over across or onto the road? I think the person wants to get out here. Afternoon, ma'am. Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
Why are some of the graves like sunk in?
Why are they?
Yeah.
Oh, wooden caskets. They rotted and they collapsed. That's why when you'll find you have like divots in the gravesite. Why am I standing on one?
No, I'm just saying, don't back up.
And now you're required to use plastic. You have to use plastic.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Got room for them to come out? Okay, good. The stone right here in front of me is another cenotaph or cenotaph. Take care. E.R. Lilly was one of the first three that supposedly were buried down at the old section and brought up here. I come to find out it was this year. As many years as I've been doing this and up here doing research, come to find out he is buried in Iowa. The family came out here, dug him up, and took him back east to be buried with the rest of the family. So this became from a gravestone to a cenotaph, a memorial marker to somebody who is not here. Question? Any questions?
Can you tell the difference when somebody's not there? Do they mark the
No. This is well, like Pell's over there that did the Baton Death March. It doesn't say that he's buried there. It doesn't say where he's buried. The same thing here. I think that this was his original headstone, and they just took the body and put it back and left the headstone here. Yep. He was a school teacher, died at age 25. What he died from, don't know. But it was a big blow to the community because there were only two teachers. I'm bound and determined to kick the bucket.
Or kick over one of the gravestones.
Okay. Over here. This is a good example, like of a family plot. The Bagley. And you see that they have just initials on these small stones. And if there was an infant that died, they would bury it right in front of the family stone here. Except there's one exception. It's this stone right in front of us here. Veteran of the Mexican-American War, John Bagley. He's the one that named the town. He's the one that brought in the first mill from Healdsburg. He had a mill up Mill Creek, and got contract with Willits, and brought the mill down right where the Safeway parking lot is now. It was the first mill in this area. The only other one was in 1860, which was a water-powered mill up towards Rio Neto. They diverted the channel of the river, so it was a water-powered one. But he was the first mill owner. He brought it in. He was also the one that named Guerneville, because we got enough people here working in the various mills. At one time there were seven lumber mills operating within 4 miles of Guerneville, all around here. And he started a general store, and ended up being better than being in the mill business. So he built the general store, and there were so many people getting mail, he said, we need a post office here. So he petitioned Washington, D.C., and in July 1870, they granted it, and he said, we need a post office at Guerneville. Why not after himself? Because Guern was a partner with him in the mill. And he so respected George Guern that he named the town after him. So he was the first postmaster, the first store, the first mill, the first surveyor, because he laid this all out, as I mentioned at the beginning of our tour here. He laid this all out here. Yes, sir?
Yeah, quick question. After the redwood was milled and it was ready for the market, was it trucked or railroaded down to Jenner and shipped out from there, or?
No, by oxen. Ox teams to Santa Rosa.
Oh.
Took them sometimes 2 days.
And then rail from there, huh?
And then rail from there, right. The railroad didn't arrive in here until February 1877. And those of you who have Guerneville early days, if you take a look at the pictures, the early pictures of Guerneville, you will see the Ox Railway coming right through the flat of town here. It was 5 years before the railroad itself arrived here. Okay, let's see. Keep everybody posted here. Yeah. Yeah. As pointed out, you'll see a sunken gravesite here. Wooden caskets. And if it's a cheap one, they don't stand up long. Not in this environment. In here we have the Walkers. He was a pastor. He lived up above Armstrong Park, up above where Pond Farm is. And he would come down every Sunday and he'd go back. The one thing is, this is the second person that we have here that was born in the 18th century. Again, 1795, like the lady over on the far side. And this is his wife. The family's still active. They come up here and they cleaned this off. Used to be covered with ivy, and finally they rediscovered their roots. So, that was bad. Okay. Moving right along. Yes, who's got a question? No, it was question here to repeat. In the gravestones like here, you see a weeping willow. You will see hands clasped. Quite often when you see hand clasped, it might be the brethren, like say, it might be the Masons, the Oddfellows, the Foresters, something of that sort. Much like you will see an angel, or like we've been talking about, if you find a lamb, being a youngster. So it's not really for one specific religion or anything of that sort. Okay, where am I here? I'm going stir crazy. What about this? Yeah. Okay, good point. Good point. We have a great marker. Like you did over the Bagleys, you have the family plot, then you have just the initials. We have one that's buried here. It's just slowly sinking into the ground. Quite often they get broken, they get kicked over, to get lifted. Where? Jeremy? Oh, you're here! He's our expert on cemeteries, and I've learned from him. But it's things like this that get picked up and stolen. What is the group now we call the people that turn in headstones and grave markers?
Tombstone amnesty.
Got that? Amnesty.
Yeah, no question.
No questions asked. We just want to get them back where they belong. I came home one day and I had 2 grave markers, big wooden ones, sitting up on the garage door. I wasn't there, and all of a sudden, my family got extended all of a sudden, you know. And come to find out, they were from Napa?
They were from Calistoga.
Yeah, from Napa County.
Napa County.
Again, we'll find out over here where we're going to have our ceremony, that they pop up in some of the darndest places.
They must have known you could find the owner where it went back to. They probably felt guilty and came to you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, the 2 that we just when I stopped over here, they are there are 2 Union Army veterans that have been buried over here. Didn't know they were there until the family got hold of me and said, "Yeah, we got these 2." I said, "Really? Yeah, they're father and son." I said, "Whoa!" And no military gravestone. That's the thing that kind of gets me. And we have one fellow who goes around, who's just as much of a history nut as I am, and Jeremy and some of us, who goes around to the graveyards and he repairs the broken headstones. There's the one we just came by over here. I didn't know it was a Union soldier because it had been busted and it was face down in the dirt and none of the leaves, a little bit poking up. And Brad Duvall cleaned it off. He said, "Oh yeah, he cleaned it. He's got special epoxy glue that's made for stonework," and glued the headstone back together. So I got another Union soldier now on the list. Okay. Any questions? You know, if anybody thinks I'm cutting anybody short. No relation. Armstrong, the question was, we have an Armstrong that's buried here, but no relation. The Armstrong Park is over in Santa Rosa, right, Jeremy? Where's Jeremy? There he is. Jeremy, isn't J.B. Armstrong of Armstrong Park, isn't he buried at Santa Rosa?
Yeah, Colonel
Yeah,
Armstrong,
Colonel Armstrong
is the senior Union Army Civil War veteran buried in Santa Rosa Rural Cemetery.
Yeah, so it just happens to be like the same last name. Okay, now we're going to flip down here. We're going to our ceremony. Okay? Me. That's me.
That's gonna be you?
That's good. Yeah, I'm contrary. I'm above ground. The heck with it, you know. Let us sit there and push up weeds. Okay, we're going to come down over here. I got one short story, and then we have a special ceremony. I don't know that. Is this it? Yeah. Okay. I got a little spiel I have to do here. Reverend Jones, don't you jump on me for this. I'm innocent. Oh, yeah, right. That isn't what my mother said. We all have our town characters, whether it's Santa Rosa, Healdsburg, San Francisco, like Emperor Norton, etc. The gentleman that's buried here, Frank Aquistapachi. He was known about town as Dirty Frank. Reason being, he didn't bathe. He didn't bathe all year. He'd buy clothes, which was basically a Levi jacket, pants, etc., once a year. Never got out of them. He was drafted in World War II by the Navy. And so, you know, those of you who have been in the military, you know, the first thing they do, zip goes the hair, off go the clothes, get into the shower and come back out, okay? That's what happened to him. He got in the shower and he caught double pneumonia. They gave him a medical discharge and he came back home. That was it. Now, when I used to see him driving around in his car, the first time I saw him, it scared the out of me. The only thing you could see was just these eyeballs looking out the side window and this dirty black car. And then come to find out it was Frank Acquistapace. Now, in 1960, and it sounds like I'm really, you know, denigrating him, or belittling him, whatever you want to call it. I got off the hook. Headline, Guerneville Times. Thank you. Guerneville Times, 1963. The headline said, Frank got a bath in 90 days. He was driving on a suspended license. He got picked up for drunk driving after he wrecked his car. And I'm going to just read exactly what the newspaper said. Well, let's be off the hook big time. Guerneville's outstanding man about town, Frank Acquistapace, is languishing in the county jail for 90 days. The accommodations also include a bath now and then, as well as services of a barber. When Frank returns to his regular beat from his mobile apartment to the nearest bar, even his best friends may not recognize him. He will appear pale and young. He may be even wearing a new suit and hat. His disguise will be perfect. Frank obtained his reservation at the county's expense when he drove his brakeless jalopy into a parked hay wagon in front of the North Shore Resort. The handsome black leader horse, Spider, was slightly injured, and everyone is glad that he wasn't seriously hurt. His hind leg was bumped and skinned. Driver Saul Bonelli, which I'll point out over here, Saul Bonelli knew what to do. He smeared axle grease on the bleeding leg, and Spider was able to continue. Frank was picked up wandering afoot some distance from the accident. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just a hit and runner, driving without a license, under the influence, and driving without brakes. Frank, you add color to our town. Maybe you might think I'm belittling you or what have you, but I thank you for adding some color, that we are humans, etc. Okay, next stop. Over here. Gather around, children, you shall hear a graveyard story that you have no fear. Where's, okay, Reverend Jones? Jeremy? Where's my son? Where's Jeremy? Over here, sir. This is something out of the ordinary right here that we've never done before in all the tours, etc., that I've given. Okay, I'm going to let you start the story.
Okay. Okay, so, can you speak up too? I will do my best. Be quiet, John. About a year ago, I was contacted by a gentleman in Sacramento. His father had died, and the family was cleaning out the house, and they found a tombstone with the name DiNucci on it. He did a little research and discovered that there were and had been lots of DiNucci's in Sonoma County. So he contacted the Sonoma County Historical Society, and at the moment I happened to be president, so that came to me. And I looked up the name, and DiNucci immediately said river. And anything that says Sonoma County, river, I go to this guy here. And he did a little research and confirmed that this baby was buried here in this plat. And there are some questions as to why she was buried here when the rest of the Danucci's are over there, and we can guess, but we do not know. This was the first child of Henry and Mabel Danucci. The baby lived only 5 days. Very likely the Danucci's were relatively newlywed, probably didn't have very much money, couldn't afford to buy a plot. Someone was kind enough to say, you can bury your baby in our plot, and here she is. Now, how the stone got to Sacramento, we do not know and probably will never know for sure, but I can take a reasonable guess because the gentleman in whose home the stone was found had been a high school football coach. It's easy to imagine the high school football team from somewhere in the Sacramento area visiting this area for a game. And driving around afterwards, high school kids looking for trouble to get into. What could be more fun than to steal a tombstone? When they get back to Sacramento with this tombstone in the back of the pickup truck, Coach finds out about it and said, you know, you boys have done a bad thing. Give me that. I will get it back to where it belongs. Well, he could never figure out where it came from, so it stayed in his house, and his kids found it. And it came then, the gentleman who found it in his dad's house brought it to me, and I brought it to John, and we are here today to bless the stone and give the baby peace.
Thank you, Jeremy. Next we have Reverend Jones, who's going to be saying a piece over Evelyn.
My privilege to bless this grave and bless this person and his family, who surely had a hard time of it in those days, as many did. I began to think what kind of words would have been said at a ceremony like this in those days, and I got a hold of one of the old prayer books in which there's a section for prayers at the funeral of a child. And I thought that would be a good one for us to pay attention to. I assume they're Danucci's. In fact, most of the people here, I assume, would have been buried with a minister or a priest of the Christian faith, and so whether I'm right or not, that's what we're going to do. But it would not be beyond my desire to do another kind of prayer if we found out differently. Here's the prayer for the burial of a child out of this old prayer book that I find really helpful many times. Now I've lost the prayer. That would be right here. Almighty God, Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for the love that cares for us in life and watches over us in death. And now, may we in faith and hope give back to Thee the life which in love was given to us. We bless Your name for Jesus' joy in calling the little children to be unto Him, and to assure us that of such is the kingdom of heaven. Let us believe that in death as in life, all of the young ones are in God's holy keeping. In our sorrow, make us strong to commit ourselves and those we love to thy never-failing care. In our perplexity, may we trust where we cannot understand, knowing that the Eternal One is our refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Amen. And I would add only that I extend these blessings and good wishes to any here who have lost someone long before their time. My hunch is that that has happened to some of the people here, and our blessings go to you as well. Amen.
David, thank you, Robert. Okay, so we set this stone. It was about a week ago. It was. Where's our president?
I'm right here. Right here.
No, that's the other president.
John.
Oh, there you are. You're in camouflage. Her husband, Paul Berry, cannot be here. He's back east on another venture. But he is the one who does most of the cleanup, or is in charge of the committee that does the cleanup. And so then last week, we set the stone again and raked up the area. Families, when you come up here to visit your friends who are in the ground, why don't you do a little cleanup around it? It makes it easy, especially when I'm looking for a name. You know, it's easier to see then. Okay, we're going to head straight across. Yo.
Is this Rosa Benelli from Leonito and the family Benucci from Leonito?
They could be. There's Rosa Benelli. We got the Benellis, the Pedroias, and the Benucci. And like I said, there are a lot of them intermarried. And trying to figure out, you know, who lived where. It's been difficult. I wish I could answer your question, but I can't. I don't have that knowledge. Yeah, that's Benucci. We have in here, besides the Benellis and the Footstone, down at the end we have a Vannucci. We got Danucci's, Vannucci's, Dagnellos, Janellis, whatever. You know.
There's a Gurn buried over there.
Yeah.
And is there, what happened with that situation?
Maybe they ran.
Family
Well, I don't know. Billy Gurn was just 2 weeks ago buried over there. What the circumstances? There might have been a family feud.
Could be. I think he was a black sheep or something.
Okay, we're going to be heading this direction here. We have another DAR, another Union soldier here. I forgot to tell you, there's poison oak around here.
Other mommy. There's your mommy.
Mama's home!
Here we go.
We got some people. Like I said, we had the diphtheria epidemic here. That was not the only epidemic we've had here on the river. Outside of like AIDS, but that was transported. People caught AIDS in San Francisco, and we had a tremendous influx of the fellows who were dying from AIDS, and the doctor was saying, you want to add more time to your life, go someplace that's very relaxing, no stress, don't contribute to it, and consequently they moved up here. This headstone here, the reason I kind of got it this way, because we're going to be heading right over there, this stone right here is the only one of royalty. This is the Vanderstraten. Yeah, Lake Comte and Comtesse Vanderstraten. Now, when you get sworn in as a member of the United States, you renege all, you do away with any allegiance to a foreign government, no matter what they are. That's what they did, except on the headstone, it gives you a hint where they came from. They were from the Belgium, Netherlands area. The Count Vanderstraten.
Never did lick up. Maybe I ought to do that. Lick up his, what do you call it? The shield, the coat of arms. That's it. Yeah, right here. Okay. Oh, I mentioned about Ambrose Bierce over there. Chasing, riding with vanilla. Riding with Pancho Villa. I haven't even had a drink yet. Anyway, we have a fellow here by the name of Tunis Beaver, Pete Beaver, born up at the Quicksilver mine. He was of age, I think it was about, he was about 17, 18 years old, and he joined the Army. There wasn't much going on. The lumbering business was going out of business, or the industry, and the Quicksilver mine, the Mercury mine up at Mount Jackson here, was not producing. So he joined the Army, ended up with being with Blackjack Pershing. And what was Pershing doing? He was chasing Pancho Villa out of New Mexico. So you had Ambrose Bierce here riding with Villa, and we had Pete Beaver here as a youngster chasing after him. But I don't think their paths ever crossed. Pete ended up being a deputy sheriff here for about 30, 35 years. Right, Cliff?
That's right.
Yeah. And he was my buddy. I was a deputy sheriff here for 39 years, but I never heard a shot fired in anger. That's because I ducked a lot. There's some guy here by the name of Schubert. I'm not related to him.
In that new section.
Have you done a book? I know you've done a book about lots of
everything. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Have you done one?
Nothing on the grape. I'm sorry, Mom.
Get to
I've
it.
been busy.
Dude, get to it.
Golly, you had me pick up my room today. That was enough.
No dinner for you.
Okay, you got anybody who wants to hear or here? Okay. In this section as well as the other sections, sometimes when you go down an aisle or your pathway, you'll go along and all of a sudden you'll come to a grave site. The people, when they've run out of land in their lot is for an individual, lot is for a family, and they will bury the person in the pathway. That's why when you go down, if you go down a row here, all of a sudden you see a grave site right in the middle of the path. It's because they have incorporated that, or just usurped the land for themselves. So you come across that quite often here. Down here, hang in there. How'd you make it? Okay.
Sorry.
This headstone here for a youngster did not die of the epidemic or anything of that sort. He was the first person killed by an automobile here on the river. He was playing, it was down on the main street, and those who are familiar with town, where Trios is, or the old Larks, or the Guerneville Mercantile. He was playing up there. This is back in about 1914, was it? 1916. And he was playing with the kids, other kids, and he darted out into the street as Bill Carr coming along in his car. He had no chance to stop. All of a sudden, Olney was there and killed him right there on the spot. And it shocked the whole community. Will Carr was just, every time, according to one of the fellows who was born and raised here, Ray Clark, who wrote Out of the River Mist, which is a real, those of you who haven't read it, it's a great book. It's about a fellow, he writes about his life as a kid, growing up, being born here and growing up in Guerneville from the turn of the century. It's like a little, about 30 years after Tom Sawyer, but it's kind of like a Tom Sawyer. He talks about the various characters, and he talks about when Will Carr used to drive by where he had killed Olney, he said he would let out a moan and people could hear it as he would drive through. There were sometimes you couldn't get around, you know, going up and down the street. And that was, yeah, he was injured and he was found under he stopped immediately and the child died underneath the car. This is, and you'll notice here that there's a lamb on top. You know, as I said before, lamb signifying a child. Okay, straight ahead. This way. What?
What's the name of the book again?
Out of the River Mist by C. Ray Clark. He was my mentor when I was doing my history.
There's a little boy that died.
This is another one here, except they have wooden grave markers. It's a knee strap. Now, if you look in your program, you'll come across it in the southeast quadrant or quarter. I've forgotten how Paul has it listed. It's the child. This one right here with the orange flag. But again, everybody's subject to you know, their whims and ways. He does not have a lamb on it. Okay, we got more going down this way here. See, this looks like a clear shot, doesn't it? Oh, no, we got one in the way here. Yeah, there we go. John Schubert. Where's John Schubert? He's around here someplace. Anyway, I know he's in here because I've found him before. John Strode here in, was the first white child born in the area about 1856, and I don't see his headstone. That gentleman, I know he's in here someplace. Could be that one. Yeah, JMS. He's buried in there. I know it. I found it before. But he was the first white child born in the Guerneville area. Now this is before the mills came in, so you can imagine. You talk about being out in the wilderness, you know, listen to the mountain lions scream from the ridge tops and the coyotes and all that. In the Guerneville early days, oh, you have a copy of it? Yeah. There's a picture of Strode and his mother in there, being the first white child. Let's see, onward this way. Yes, ma'am.
Apart from the prerequisite of dying, how do you get buried here? We're all heading out to Stumptown.
You get hold of Pleasant Hill Cemetery in Sebastopol.
Nice meeting you. And then what we'll do is have contact with Megan and try to arrange a dinner at dinner.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Unfortunately, Santa Rosa.
What? Oh, for the Masons. For the Masons, yeah.
During lunch hours.
Here we have.
Lunch half hour.
I didn't have her on schedule. Had some of the people get up here. Kind of wandering all over the place. Like herding cats, I swear to it. Herding cats.
That's cool. She's got a
Anyway, the headstone right here, this white one here, Alexandra Harrington. One of the three veterans from World War II. But the thing that does my heart good, she was a Marine in World War II. Oorah. One of three. We saw Dorothy and her. Oh, and over on the far side, I skipped over dadgummit. Brawley, Betty Brawley, who was a Clar, and her brother, C. Raymond Clar, is the one that wrote Out of the River Mist. She was also the other World War II veteran.
Really?
But this is the one that just warms the cockles of my heart. I've never seen my cockles, but that's all right.
What's the horseshoe signify on this one?
I don't know. It could be a family came by and just put it there. Watch your step here. There's a big root hanging out.
I'd be sad if it was the way that the person died. I'd take them a piece of it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is line 3. Here, 1, 2, so right about here. Okay. You think that's water?
No, we didn't.
Okay, what we have here, this will be my last spiel here that I can get a chance to lie as a historian. I mean, to become an expert in something, who's going to refute you? You get people, oh yeah, no, okay, you go look it up, see if you can prove me wrong. But in this case here, there's a fellow that's buried right about where I am standing. He is unknown, and on the cemetery maps, it is listed as unknown. It is the only one listed as unknown. This fellow was found, he'd been dead for about 6 months, and he was found, those of you who go up Old Cas Road, where Cherry Street runs into Old Casadero Road, at that T intersection, it was called Ferguson Springs. And then after they found him, it was called Dead Man Springs. And it was printed in the Healdsburg paper because that was the nearest one that carried any information, any history of the river area. And she, Ellen Bagley, was the wife of John Bagley, who named the town and brought the first mill in. She was also, she was also the first school teacher. Anyway, she wrote to the Healdsburg flag. 12 January 1883. The remains of an unknown man were found last Saturday near the Ferguson Spring in Hulbert Canyon. They must have been there for several months, being in an advanced stage of decomposition, and nothing was discovered by which they could be identified. The man had collected some boughs and laid a small mattress on them. Then, partially disrobing, he had lain down and carefully wrapped the covers about him, with his clothes under his head. He was of medium height, apparently 50 or 60 years of age, his hair being quite gray. No whiskers were discernible. His teeth were nearly all gone, the few left being much decayed. His clothing was white knit underwear, coarse dark woolen suit, cotton socks, gaiter shoes, woolen overshirt, check jumper, and 2 hats, all of which were whole and in good order. There was nothing in his pockets, but in a box he had a small mirror, a comb, shoemaker's awl, and nails, ball of shoemaker's thread, spool of thread, and a few needles stuck into a piece of cloth, pair of scissors, pocket knife, buttons, matches, and cigars. The coroner's inquest was held, and a verdict found in accordance with the above facts. The remains were decently interred near where they were found. Later on, she wrote in the book that was given to me of all her newspaper clippings, in her handwriting, the remains of the unknown man were afterwards removed and reinterred in the Guerneville Cemetery, lot number 190, plot 3. That's here. I want you to think.
What year?
1883. I want you to think about this. Here's a fella, nobody knew him alive. They found him several months later after he had died. Where did he come from? Why was he here? Now, like all of us, we all have our histories. We have a story to tell. Here, it was just a cadaver, nothing else except what they found. That's the only information that we have.
and he was reinterred here. And I really wonder about him.
Traveling shoe repairman?
What? Yeah, I call him the cobbler because of what they found in his pockets. And so he is buried here. Cobbler, rest in peace.
That's the end of our journey here with the past. May the future be a little bit rosier.
You know, has anybody ever thought about him being at least